everybody, it's time for another episode of Primetime Muscle. Tim Wilkins, Tarek El-Guindi, the one and only real deal Chris Cormier.
Yo, yo.
And today we have a very special guest. We are so excited, so honored actually, to have the one and only women's chairperson, Sandy Williamson.
Thank you very much.
Sandy, hey, one thing I gotta say is, Sandy, you're looking fantastic. Your body is banging. Can I say banging?
You said banging.
Banging.
At my age, you can say that anytime you want.
You banging, girl. You be doing it. No, but your physique, man, I was just telling you, I gave you a nice critique this morning. I was just like, hey, what are you, I mean, you just still doing it. I love it. Love to see it.
Because seriously, Chris, I've said this, everybody knows I've said this all along. This sport has saved my life. I mean, muscle is what helps women stay stronger and healthier as we get older. So that's why I'm so passionate about it.
That's awesome.
This is how breakfast went down. Chris leans over and goes, damn. I go, what? And that's Sandy. Hey, Sandy, what's up?
Damn. Sandy was doing cardio today around the hotel at 6 o'clock in the morning. When we went to Brazil, she's doing cardio in Brazil at 6 o'clock in the morning on the streets. She lives the life. And another thing that people don't know, that when she judges shows, she doesn't drink water. What? Yes. Just like the competitors.
Trying to dry out?
Because she knows she's going to stay 10 hours there, so she doesn't drink water.
Oh,
just like the competitors. Yes.
Oh, okay.
And her food intake is chicken and a little bit of carbohydrate. She is a competitor.
Still leaning it out.
At any moment.
That's why. Shape is still there. Is still there.
But I grew up heavy, and
so you gotta stay on
the sport saved my,
those carbs low.
Like wellness heavy or heavy?
Oh no, heavy.
Off season.
Oh no, I would look like, if I would take a wellness body any day. They have the most gorgeous legs in the world. But no, I grew up very heavy. You know what I mean? And so this sport saved my life.
That's awesome.
Well, our time is limited with you, sadly, and the beauty of that, even having you here, is that you are such an icon in the industry and impart so much wisdom. We'll talk about the seminars here shortly, but people, like more than a guest poser sometimes, flock to come to events and seminars and talk about the posing and the strategy and some of the different factors. What are some of the big things women should be doing, or people of all divisions, men and women, the posing, the do's and don'ts?
Okay. And I tell this because, we're fortunate enough, we have a lot of true novice, athletes that are just getting ready to do this first show. And I always say to them, you want to come in prepared. Go to your local shows. Go to see some of your regional shows. It'll give you an idea of the process. Anything that you can do ahead of time to relieve some of that anxiety and stress when you first walk in. So go to a show, see how the process is. Watch the athletes get changed on stage, how they line up on stage. Again, and mostly every place in our country, every state does seminars and workshops. Go hit some of them up. Get some feedback and tips from the pros and stuff, and from the officials in your area. Again, it's just all those little things are going to help you when you get to that day of the show. It's going to alleviate some of your that stress and anxiety you're going to have. That's the biggest thing. And practice posing. Presentation has become such a big deal. It's become so much more important now than it was 15, 20, 30 years. And I think it's because the quality of our athletes, obviously the number of athletes have increased, but also the quality has increased. And so posing makes such a big difference today as opposed to 10, 15 years ago.
Well, I talked to Chris and Sean and a lot of these guys talking about the importance of posing for not just the presentation, but to bring out that fine muscle.
Yes, because your body is going to bring on more definition. It's almost like an isometric type of exercise that you do. So some of the water you shed during your posing, that's going to help you look better on the stage, right, Sandy?
Oh, absolutely. And you see it actually go both ways. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Somebody can start out in the middle and they look really good, and then the more they pose them, because I will say that also changed over the years. It used to be, especially with men's bodybuilding, it would be, we just did the quarter turns and the posing and kind of got you off the stage. And now, because the quality's so good, those athletes are on stage, can be on stage a long time. And sometimes athletes get much better because, like you said, they get rid of a little bit of water, but then other athletes get softer and softer because they're not conditioned well enough.
Let me ask you something. I know it's a little off topic, but when you see a competitor on the side of the stage, each side, are you still looking at them and seeing are they holding their poses on the side? Are they just slouching over, like stomachs hanging out? totally relaxed, not paying attention or whatever. Like, does that matter to you in your mind when you're looking at
Absolutely.
the actual champion?
We tell competitors, and I just had this conversation with somebody this morning before we came. When the minute you step on that stage and you're walking to the center, or and then you're put back on the diagonal,
right.
Judges are looking all the time. I think that's one of the things that athletes don't understand is you could have 5 athletes out in the middle, and maybe me as a judge, I already have them placed.
Right.
Now I'm looking to help the head judge. I'm looking on both sides to see who my next group of athletes that I want to see out there. And if you're not holding your pose and you're not making yourself look your best on side,
right.
it's going to be the same. It's going to be the same thing. You're going to get overlooked.
Right.
Now I'll ask you both this question because this is a big no-no I've been told over the years. Coaches were telling their athletes to fidget, move around, and adjust. And I've been told that's just a nuisance to the judges.
Yes.
Hold your pose on the diagonal.
Yes, I'll have to agree with you, Tim. And going back to what Sandy was saying, sometimes Sandy's there and she's head judging the show and she calls 4 competitors. And then she might ask me on the right side, or she might ask the judge on the left side, should we bring 2 more, 1 more? What do you guys think? And then all of us judges, we take a look at the diagonal to the right, we take a look at the diagonal to the left. And if you're not hitting your pose there and you are not ready to compete, you're not getting that call. So the sides are very important. I dislike when competitors keep moving because you should practice your posing and have your best pose and just stop there and allow the judges to look at your physique. When you're creating motion, you're taking the attention from what we're actually trying to see. Wouldn't you agree with that, Sandy?
Oh, absolutely. Because again, I might be looking at you when you're fidgeting a little bit, so now I don't see your physique in a good light at all. And just like Tarek said, you're going past that person to the to the next. Now again, if you are up there for a long time, athletes will relax a minute, but you come right back into your pose.
Yes, when I teach posing a lot, and I hate a fidgeting person. I don't even like it on Instagram when you see people just fidgeting the whole time. Just like, dude, like the less steps as possible to get into your next stance. I like to teach that. The less movement as possible, boom, be precise, get it, and then show your body.
And another thing I was going to mention is, especially with the women, is touching their hair very often during a presentation, right? And that's almost like a sign of nervousness. Continue to touch the hair, and I can see it one time could be charming, but a lot of times we're seeing presentations where competitors are touching their hair maybe 6, 7 times. While they're on stage doing their individual posing. That's too much motion for a bodybuilder. We're not judging the hair, and all of a sudden we're seeing this motion over and over again. It's not good.
Well, let's talk pet peeves, because I was really blessed this year. I got a little help from Raymond Edmonds and Louis Santa. And one of the things he said was, do not, as a men's physique guy, try to spread your lats by driving the chopper.
I really wish I could go back over the years and see which athlete started that, because it started somewhere.
It was not me.
Not me. It will never be a pro bodybuilder. It will never be a bodybuilder
Right.
because that's not the best way to display your back. You know what I mean? Putting your arms out. Now, first of all, flattens the heads of the delt. And this is for my figure competitors, my women's physique competitors. Same thing. Flattens the heads of the delt.
Correct.
It actually brings your lats in a little bit. So you're actually doing the exact opposite. Now, again, if you're somebody like Brandon Hendrickson, can you get away with it because you've got so much width? Yeah, maybe. But I'm telling you, most men's physique do not have that kind of width. And you don't want to, Steve always says, you never want to sacrifice width, any shape or form. And you do it every time.
And I was told, and we talked about this a little bit, we all did, I was told front, back, front, there's going to be a little presentation. When you get to the pros, you pose.
Yes.
But now we're seeing a lot more people throwing front double buys in on their figure routine.
Novice.
Oh, don't get me started. Don't get me started. Get my Xanax here, guys. Sandy, I'll let you start so I can just take a breath.
No, you know what? We always say, whatever division you're in, stick to those poses. Just like I said, Patriots last year, we saw a bikini competitor with the trophy doing a front double bicep. Just this past weekend at Legions, I saw a figure competitor doing a front double bicep with the trophy. But these are things that, again, go to your, well, we got back to going to the seminars and learning about the sport. Your coaches should be kind of like educating the athletes, like what to do when you do get a trophy, you know what I mean? What to expect when you get to be that top 5 and stuff. But it's crazy. And men's physique, I'm sorry, and I don't mean to say anything about the men's, but they started it, and now my figure girls are doing it, my bikini girls are doing it.
I mean, the men's physique guys, they're doing this stuff here, and some of them, they're taking about 50 seconds. Big Ramy can hit 7 mandatory poses on that. In 2020, we had a bikini competitor on stage that she took 2 minutes and 11 seconds on stage. Tim, Jack Sullivan was sitting next to me. When she started, he had hair. By the time she was done, he was bald, okay? Maz Ali was having convulsions. He goes, Tarek, I gotta see my children. You know what I mean? We're not gonna make it. How can you be on stage for 2 minutes and 11 seconds? Arnold Schwarzenegger didn't take that long to hit his poses. Less is more. Less is better.
You guys are top judges. What do you feel about some of these bodybuilders touching on their legs or whatever? And they're trying to hit a side chest, but they're all down here doing this first.
Chris, if you don't know what your hamstring feels like and your glute feels like, you haven't been practicing posing.
You look like an amateur doing it.
Yes, you do. No, absolutely. But we're, like I said...
And you only have so much time up there. You only have so much time.
No, and the longer you're up there, the more time you give me to find your faults.
So that's what I was going to bring up next. The longer you're up there, the more you're up there guest posing at a local show, the more time you're giving the judges to pick apart your physique.
Because like going back, the quality's so good. My notes are not like great back, great. My notes are, needs chest, needs more back. So the longer you're up there, the more things, and then I go, okay, I've seen enough. You want to go out as an athlete and you want to do your presentation, get off. You want the judges to go, oh, I need to see that athlete back here again. And that's what you want to do. That's the impression you want to leave so that you maybe get that first call out because of it.
And then we hear the coach say in the background, take your time. And I just want to get the bottle of water and just say, what did you just say? Take your time? She's been there for 7 hours.
See, and that's why you should have a woman coach, because a woman will tell you less is more. Don't drag this out any more than you have to. All right, we could go on all day. We have 2 more segments with the amazing Sandy Williamson when we come back on Primetime Muscle.
You diet down, train hard, and supplement smart for months. When the time comes to step on stage, don't leave your tan to chance. Go with the pros. Pro Tan. #1 worldwide since 1987 and the official sponsor of the Olympia for the last 15 years. Don't step on stage without it. Pro Tan.
And we're back, and we're talking about a couple of divisions that changed the sport. And one of the ways that it really changed the sport was it grew the number of people both competing and there to cheer for the athletes across all divisions. And we're talking about bikini and wellness. Sandy, and we know bikini was way before wellness. Let's talk about the evolution of these 2 parts of the sport.
Okay, well, again, it's kind of, you have to go back though, because the whole sport has evolved over the years. And again, that's one thing with Jim and with the NPC. He's always listened to what the athletes want. You know what I mean? Really, because different generations, society changes. What people want to go see and what they want their own bodies to look at has changed. And that's one of the reasons I think that the NPC has grown so much, because we've kept up with that. You know what I mean? We've changed as the next generation has changed, for what they want to see. With bikini, again, even with figure, again, some of the girls were getting a little bit, bigger than a lot of the other younger girls wanted to. And I think, too, you saw a lot more model searches, in coming into play and stuff. So there was a whole group of women that, like with Amanda Latona, she could have built muscle easily. And when I said something to her, she goes, Sandy, I model. If I gained that much muscle, which she liked, I would lose my, career as a model. So again, it gave women a chance to do something that they wanted to do, but they couldn't take it to that next extreme. because of their career, because maybe they were nurses and teachers and stuff, and they didn't want to go there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think it grew. Bikini especially grew faster than anybody.
It's half of most shows now.
Oh, yeah.
And now wellness is growing, and we know that Tarek was a big part of that.
Brazil was a big part of that.
Brazil was a big part because
Sandy was the first one to go to Brazil and head judge a show in Brazil, a pro qualifying. So despite the fact that I'm Brazilian, my brother is Brazilian, the people who were there at the first event, NPC IFBB Pro League qualifier, was Sandy Williamson was the head judge, JM was the photographer, and that was the first time we got a chance to see the wellness division. Just to complement what Sandy was saying, the chance to have competitors coming to the NPC through the bikini division is fascinating, is awesome. A lot of times I had the opportunity to meet people that I knew from the gym business, and they said, Tarek, I just wanted to do one show. And to have that category, bikini, gave them the chance to just do one show, one bucket list. And they didn't even care about their placing. They just wanted to tell themselves, I went on stage. And it's awesome, man, to live this, to see people, realize that they can fulfill their dreams on stage through a category like bikini. Women that are 50, 55, women that have, survived cancer, women that battle it out with so many things and they go into the bikini. And then you have the young competitor, 18, 19, just starting to work out and say, hey, I'm not women's physique, I'm not figured, but I got a chance to do, true novice in bikini. It's great for us.
Well, now, the guys talk about this a lot, letting the division pick your physique as opposed to picking your division and just trying to guide yourself into it. Because, and the reason I bring this up, when I do my research for the Olympia, I see women who have outgrown, and a few guys that have outgrown their category, and they made that natural transition. They said, all right, I put on mass real easy. I hate you all, by the way. I just get big. Not a problem I'm suffering with. And they just naturally move up. But as a judge, and really the chairperson and one of the most prominent head judges, do you agree with that? And how do you, through judging, guide that to maintain the standard?
But it is, because like I said, I have some girls that are more proportioned for wellness. But if you don't want to gain that much muscle and you don't want to look like that, you know what I mean? Then to tell somebody to go in that direction. But I have so many girls that'll say the opposite. They'll come to me and they'll say, I'm trying to fit in bikini, my legs are too big, I haven't trained late, and but do you I love to train, Sandy, I haven't trained legs in 2 years. I'm like, then you answered your own question. Take that time and transition to wellness. That's what's nice about our sport. You have a little bit for everybody. If you don't want to gain a lot of muscle or you can't, we have bikini. If you have a nice structure that because that's the one thing for bikini, you don't need a certain structure, and that's the hardest thing to get a hold of. And I do that at my seminars all the time. I bring out I have a picture of the top 8 girls from the Olympia, all in first call out, and if you look at them, they all have a different amount of muscle, they all have a little bit different structure, but they're all in the first call out at the Olympia. With figure, it's not so easy. You got to have a little, a certain kind of structure, you know what I mean, to do well in figure and stuff. So if you have that, then and you like to lift, that's where you want to go. That's where you want to go. And if you're a little bit imbalanced, which a lot of women are, wellness is the best thing that came along for us.
Don't you think this generation, a lot of the guys, they want smaller legs, a lot of girls want bigger legs, they want bigger glutes, bigger legs now? Like this whole generation is switching to...
Well, and I think some of it came from like TV and Hollywood and our celebrities with Beyonce and that, you know what I mean, and a lot of South American and Central, figures now that are celebrities. That's a look that young girls want to attain.
Yeah, and I think every wellness competitor started as a bikini, right? Because then you grow your body. But there's structures, like Sandy said, if you're born with a really tiny waist and you have that V taper, figure is a great category. And a lot of women, they have a little bit, they carry a little bit more weight in the lower half. Wellness is perfect for them. And if you're petite, you're small frame, you know, bikini, if you have the ability, Natalia Coelho, she has the ability to gain muscle, women's physique, you can pick many categories. And one of the things that we tell competitors is that you have the ability on an NPC show to do different categories. You can do bikini and wellness on the same show. And I tell competitors, Angelica Teixeira, who won the Bikini Olympia twice, she started her career as figure. Latoya Watts, who also won the Figure Olympia, she started as bikini. It's perfectly fine to transition. We are there to help them in whatever direction they want to go.
But at the higher levels, and you can both speak to your experience and kind of your guidance, at the higher levels, I'll see shows where you judge who you have in front of you in each division. Yeah. And one guy in a local NPC show can win from physique to bodybuilding. But at the higher levels, there should be a definitive look for each category to where you can't necessarily win classic and physique or class of physique and bodybuilding. You shouldn't be able to.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, if you get to the, and when people say to me all the time, like, you know, what is that ideal? What are you looking for? And I just say, go to the Olympia. Look at every one of those winners. That's as close to that ideal as you're going to get. And that's, you know what I mean? If you're in that division,
within 1 point, usually.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Sometimes within 1 point for 3 people. But you know what I mean? So no, absolutely. That is, you know, again, not, I mean, everybody can improve. I don't even, whoever won the Olympia can improve. But that is kind of where you want to get. It's like how much, where anything more than Jen Dory is like, would be too much, you know, any more muscle than that would be too much muscle. Any more conditioning might be too much conditioning. You know what I mean? The same thing with all the divisions like that.
What figure?
Well, same thing. You see some of the girls come in and they have, and this is what's really hard at the local shows, because you'll have somebody come in and they're super, you know, good, and and some of the judges will think, because again, maybe the quality's not as good, and they penalize them because they think. And my thing is, like it happened at the USA a couple years ago. One of the girls walked out in women's physique, and all the judges went, "Oh my God, Sandy, she's women's bodybuilding." And I looked at them and I said, "She bigger than Julianne Mellon-Carney?" And they went, "Well, no." I said, "Then you just answered your own question. She's just that much better than everybody on stage." And sometimes it's hard, but again, it can go the opposite way. Because I just had somebody a couple weeks ago at the Nevada State, and they came out in bikini. And best physique in that group, by far, just from a physique standpoint.
Right.
Not my first place person for bikini. A little bit too big muscularity and a little bit too hard. So that's one of the things, you know, when we judge bodybuilding, it was easy.
Right.
The guy with the most muscle, the most conditioning, the best separation, you know, condition was going to win, okay? But now all these divisions have parameters. And you can have the best physique, but not fit the parameters for that division.
So this is a really hard thing for all the young competitors, because when they are starting out, the Olympia may not be a resource. They go to their coaches. And they're not always getting the best scoop from their coaches to say, here's how I think you should look for this division.
You mean the boyfriends?
Or future boyfriends, future ex-boyfriends.
Yeah.
Well, Chris got a good point on that.
Yeah,
you know, and you as an athlete, and a lot of the pros, they're conscious enough to know who they go to. But we are there for them. We are available for them to guide them, to help them throughout the process. And a lot of times people don't use us as much as they should. If you get Sandy Williamson after the Olympia, she'll be there to answer questions to you and tell you, hey, listen, you know, this is what you need to improve. Maybe you should take a whole year off. We are there to help. And Sandy, she's been a mentor of mine and a mentor for all of us, because more than judging, she's been there for the competitors. And Chris, that's vital for the competitor to know who to listen to. And if you have the option to choose a Yahoo from the street or talk to Sandy Williamson, and you're making that mistake, you know, it's on you.
Tarek, I like what Sandy said, is go to the shows and watch. That's what I did when I was coming up. I went, even though I wasn't competing, I would always ask off from work just to go to a bodybuilding event, just to watch and see what people are doing on stage, watch what they're doing off stage, see what you can learn. You can learn something that's valuable, that's going to help you in your career, then, I mean, just from watching.
Oh, absolutely. Like I said, just especially as a first-time competitor, to me, that would be the way to go, because it's going to relieve so much of my stress. I'm going to have an idea what's expected of me. I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to see how those expediters change the athletes and stuff. And it's just one more thing that I don't have to stress about it because I know what to expect.
To both Chris and Tarek's point, we talked about this before the show. You've written over 1,000 feedbacks for the competitors.
That was the first year. That was the year of COVID.
But that is so invaluable. Take the time to talk to the judges after the show. If it's an email at a national show, send it to that judge and say,
No. Talk to me after the show. I would like not to do 1,000 emails. I would rather talk.
But I'll tell you, I mean, I love listening to you speak. Like, I've been listening to you for many years, and I still enjoy listening.
You need something more to do with your life, Chris.
You should have listened. You should have listened to her a lot more during your career. You would have been 5-time Mr. Olympia.
You know what, Chris?
Okay, you wouldn't be wearing that dirty shirt you're wearing right now.
What, Chris?
Okay,
you did not.
You should have listened a lot more.
All right.
No, Chris did not listen to me. Sorry, Chris, I got to bring it.
Okay.
Change that.
All right, let's go to break.
Change that Tijuana shirt.
I'm going to take Chris's advice on this before we turn into the bodybuilding Dr. Phil. We'll be back with more Prime Time Muscle in just a minute.
I'm still bringing it up though when we come back.
Change that stupid shirt.
And we're back with more Primetime Muscle, the Sandy Williamson Takeover. Sandy, you weren't finished when we went to break.
No.
Oh, you thought, my God.
No, I wasn't. We were talking about
The mutiny involved.
Talking about athletes taking advice from judges. Well, we have one person at this table that did not take any advice from the judges. Every time he came to, I'm not going to say who. So.
And it rhymes with Ormir.
Yes. But every time he guest posts at the Pittsburgh, I would be leaving for the airport at 5 in the morning. Chris would be coming in at 5 in the morning, and I would look at him and say, "Not going to win the Olympia again this year." So yes.
I'm coming in. They're going. There's been some shows too, like all the judges are going out to the show, and it's like 9 of them, like Jim and Sandy and Debbie are looking at me and they're like, boy, I'm just coming in and I'm like,
right?
what?
Chris invented the after party. That's his contribution to the sport. So
They are going to the show.
There's so much great advice to be had, and one of those amazing epicenters that's growing and growing and growing is the NPC Women's Seminar. Tell us about this year, and maybe even talk about the history of how it's grown over the years.
Okay, I'm not very good I have no imagination. I'm serious. I'm not very good at thinking of things. But over the last couple of years, everybody keeps saying, Sandy, when you leave, there's nobody to take over. And I'm like, there's so many amazing women in this sport. I'd be like, yeah, there is. There's Becky and there's Mo. But they're only kind of known, I realized, in their own area. You know what I mean? They're not. A lot of them don't have any notoriety. In our country, let alone in the world. So I thought, how could I get people to know who they all are? Because we have so many amazing women in this sport. And then obviously I met Heather, Candace and Heather, who basically run muscle contests. And I was trying, so I thought, well, if I do a workshop seminar thing, but it grew. I had no idea. I had no idea. And even from last year, the comments back were, again, so many athletes, the true novice, they wanted more time to learn about what to expect. We talked about what to expect, how to do that, get ready for that first show. But then Candace and Heather did a whole piece on social media, and because again, with muscle contests, they also have lipoxyderm and stuff. And so Candace was talking about as a company what she looks for from social media and how athletes present themselves. I had so much feedback that they wanted more. They wanted more in depth on how to promote themselves to companies, how to use social media, to network out and, to grow themselves and stuff. So we're this year around, last year we had 300 with 300 waiting list, and this year we're 400, and Wings of Strength was obviously the biggest promoter of the women in our sport.
And where is this going to be this year?
It's going to be at Wings of Strength facility. It's half of a airplane hangar, but I'm not sure that we're going to have enough space because of this guy's wife right here, because we now have 32 booths at the women's workshop.
Wow.
Yes. and 400, and we're sold out. And they're also doing a boot camp. Whitney and her group of athletes are doing a boot camp for the women ahead of time, and it's just a $10 because everything else, the seminar itself is free. That's another thing too. When I talked to Jim, I want to get this out there. It was about giving back to the athletes, so it's free to the athletes. And again, we all ask pros to do stuff, and I wanted to give back to the pros a little bit because we do have, again, such amazing pros that are always willing to come to seminars and help us in workshops on their own dime and stuff, you know what I mean? So I tried to offset, we did the rooms, and I gave, whatever money we had extra at the end, we split it between the pros. So this is definitely not, it was a whole thing about giving back to the athlete because we appreciate all of them, because they're the foundation of our organization.
This is important for the women that are watching. It is a women's seminar, but this is really the epicenter. This has become the hub. So you've got Whitney Jones, so you know fitness is covered. Probably Alina Popa. Who else?
I can start. Let's start with women's bodybuilding. First thing I said to Jake when we talked about this, and like I said, he was on board right away last year, was, he said, can we help with an athlete? And I'm like, I said, that would be great. And when he said, will Andrea Shaw work? I'm like, let me think about that. But yeah, so Andrea for women's bodybuilding. Sid, Natalia Coho was there last year. Sarah Villegas already contacted me. She'll be here this year. For figure, we have Sid Gillian. And if anybody missed out last year of watching Sid, I'm telling you, there's not a better speaker to talk about posing. She did figure, women's physique, and bodybuilding last year. And I had trainers and posing coaches that have been doing this for years that were in awe. So she's definitely one that you don't want to miss. But her and Boyana, they're going to be there for figure. For bikini, we have Ashley Kaltwasser, Jen Dory, Janet Laylug, Lorelei Chapatos. Let's see, who else thinking? And then wellness, we have Yarishna. So, and that's another thing we didn't bring up. When you talk about athletes going from one division, I had no idea that Yarishna started as bikini.
Yeah.
And
I had a chance to judge her in bikini in Los Angeles, and the feedback was, your legs are too big, But I want to say that the women's seminar I had a chance to help out. And yeah, my wife was there.
He did a big, no.
Yes, Chris, I'm actually a credible human being, so I do help people, okay?
I want to go
something that's unfamiliar in your territory.
Oh, no. You're not coming. You are not coming to my women's seminar, honey.
Stop it.
We don't want bad elements there, Chris. But the thing is it almost inspired us guys to do a men's seminar, because when they were talking about it, they were talking about the business of being a competitor. And that's what we were talking just a few weeks ago, right? You are a bodybuilder and you're not making money, you're not utilizing your assets properly. And in this seminar, they're covering those things. They're talking about, hey, if you make money, where are you going to put your money? When your career is over, what are you going to do? What are the possibilities of becoming a judge, becoming a journalist in the sport? Things that we guys never covered, and then we come up and 45 years old, we have these bodybuilders who are unhappy because they never got that instruction. So the women's seminar taught me that we guys maybe need to do something, and they're ahead of us. And when we talk about the female competitors being more prepared, right? They never lose their number. They make their registration on time. Their posing is vastly superior than the guys, is because they're more detail oriented than us, and we need to learn from that.
Right. Yeah, that would be very helpful, I would say. And just having some people that you respect to give you like the different ins and outs on different things, that seems to be really big time. So I think that needs to spread out throughout.
Well, last year when I was walking out Sunday, because again, the seminar is free, but again, athletes, they paid their way to come, they paid their hotel and stuff, so, obviously it's not a free weekend, but the seminar itself is free. And so I just wanted to see, did a lot of the girls really appreciate, what they, the knowledge that they got and, interacting with the pros and stuff. And I'm serious. This is where I start to fall apart. But I said to the one girl, I said, was it worth your while? She looked at me, she goes, oh my God, Sandy, I got to pose with, and I want to say the pros name because there was so many, and she goes, that's priceless.
It is. It is.
It really is priceless.
It was.
So the list you put out from all divisions is basically like the athletes' after brunch that they do after they win the Olympia.
It was 27 Olympia titles there last year.
That's insane.
And you want to know something? I did not invite one of them. They all contacted me.
That's awesome.
And
but
you know,
you have the passion that she has. Like we all share that type of passion, but I love seeing the passion and love that you have.
And
I hate that I cry.
Sandy, it's okay to cry.
We all
it's
do.
okay to cry. What we wanted to say here at Primetime Muscle is that you are the mother of the NPC. You are the mother of the IFBB Pro League. A few years back at the governor's meeting, President Jim Mannion said, simple words, she's the best. And I told you that one day my daughter will be attending this seminar.
You dare to do that. I did this all last year, every time we talked about it.
I told you.
I am convinced that I'm going to tell her that the legacy of the person who built this, who started this, is unmatched. What you have done and you've taught us and you've mentored us is be of service. Help others before helping yourself. And I could not have a better mentor in the judging panel than Cindy Williamson.
But like I said, it's the athletes are the foundation of the sport. If we don't have athletes, we don't have a sport.
That's right.
So, and like I said, for me, it saved my life. Like I said, muscle, again, as much as everybody used to say, Steve likes muscle, I don't like muscle. No, I do like muscle on women. That's what makes us, like I said, healthy and stronger.
And the
so this
lipstick.
sport
You don't like the color red lipstick. That's just what I heard. I don't know.
Well, we talked about that. And I don't like this heel, and I don't like
Green
that
suits
heel.
and blue
Yes.
You must be crippin'.
You only like blondes. You don't like blue bikini suits.
Well, I'm glad
Sandy doesn't like this.
I'm glad Chris broke things up because I was going to check my announcers on it.
Real quick, last year Jim Mannion watched some of the intro to the thing, and he said to Debbie, his wife, because obviously he's like my brother to me. He goes, Deb, I think Sandy was crying. She goes, oh, she cried the whole day. I'm sure she did.
Well, you're obviously all sponsored up thanks to Heather, but how can people find out about it? When the date and what all?
It's January 21st. Obviously, it's here in Phoenix, Arizona at the Wings of Strength facility. It is going to be live streamed for the athletes that anybody that can't afford to can't come. And then it's January 21st. We're doing an after party for the first time. Like I said, it's growing, but the boot camp in the morning.
Oh, now Chris Cormier is showing up. No, Chris Cormier is definitely showing up.
Now you need me.
No.
Now you need me.
God.
So
Let me help you with that.
If you're a normal person coming in, the airport to use is Phoenix. If you're Sarah Villegas, there's a private airport right there. It was such an absolute pleasure.
Oh my
it's
God,
always so good to see you.
I can't
thank you. Other people are going to be able to.
Let's give a
yes.
Yes.
The studio audience clapped for the first time ever.
No, but seriously, thank you for having me. This was awesome. But this is what our sport is about. This kind of camaraderie. This kind of again getting on each other's nerves. But that's what makes
family,
us.
man.
But yes, we
We're
are.
family.
We are. I spent more holidays, I think, with everybody from bodybuilding than with my own family sometimes.
Yeah, I always give back to the sport that gave me everything. Everything. I mean, I spent my 50th birthday out in Kuwait in the desert training people for the Olympia.
Did you really?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. We have, but that's what I'm saying. We have so many people in the sport. Obviously, I keep saying women just because that's my end of the, end of the division. That's stuff that I oversee. But we have so many amazing athletes in the sport that continually give and give and give.
Well, speaking of giving, Sandy's always giving that feedback so you can improve, giving more like the NPC Women's Seminar. We thank you again. You can, of course, see her judging all those great divisions December 15th through the 18th at the Olympia weekend out in beautiful Las Vegas. You can find out more about that all over the internet. We're not being shy about promoting that. Sandy, thank you. Tara Kilkindi.
So honored. She has been my mentor in the judging panel, and it's been a privilege.
Chris?
Most definitely. I know Sandy since I was a teenager, and I remember going to the gym, seeing her there behind the desk, and then throughout my whole career as bodybuilding, I just always loved to see Sandy, and I love seeing her still doing her thing. I hope she don't ever go away, ever.
Until Tarek's daughter's competing. And as always, I'm Tim Wilkins. Like, subscribe, and of course, more than anything, share this with your friends that love the sport. We'll see you next time on Primetime Muscle.